Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk through Civil 3D grading creation tools, and Casey's going to show us how to create pad elevations like for a house as an example and have those daylight or tie back into the proposed grades for the development. So let's learn.
Welcome back, guys. This is Casey. Today we're going to be going over how to use the grading creation tools in Civil 3D to go ahead and grade out pad lots for residential projects. So as you can see here, we have this large-scale residential project here with a bunch of different homes on different lots. One of the issues that I have with the surface that was made from the corridor is that the lots themselves have a cross slope that matches the road. What we need is contours to be kind of stretched apart and pulled together in between each house that's at different elevation, like the right side of the road here, such that the building pads for the houses themselves are actually flat and you can build a house on them. So on the left side, we haven't done that yet, and we're going to use the grading creation tools in Civil 3D in order to do that for us and make our job a little bit easier. So for these guys, I went through kind of by hand, piece by piece, and generated a surface. But what I was doing was creating, if you give me just a second here to turn on the correct layers, I was essentially I freeze this surface here for a second. These are the contours that generated that surface that I just turned off, and I was essentially going contour by contour and pulling them out and drawing polylines and changing elevations and just doing a lot of really tedious work in order to drag these contours apart to fit the building pads in between where I drag the contours from. So we're going to use this grading creation tools in order to speed that process up, make it a little bit easier. So let me go ahead and turn our surface back on really quick. That's not the right one. Where are we at? Here we go. Okay, so we're going to start with this guy right here, this building footprint that's at an elevation of 926. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create our building or our building footprint, whichever one that you have, building footprint or pads. So these are going to be the footprints of the houses, or at least rough footprints. So I'm going to create a feature line out of the building footprint. You can use the building pad to create the feature line, whichever you want to do. But we're just going to go ahead and we're going to use this kind of rough rectangular building footprint to create a feature line. So I'm going to go ahead and select feature line here. I already have these building footprints drawn in as polylines, so I don't have to draw the feature line from scratch. I can select create feature line from objects here, and then it's going to prompt me to select the polylines that I want to create into a feature line. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select this guy. I'll hit enter, and then it's going to ask me to create the feature line. So I'm not sure what lot number this guy is, so I'm just going to name this I'm not sure what lot number this guy is, so it's just going to ask me to import a site, or I could, choose the site that this lot number is on, but I'm just going to go ahead and hit none for now. I am going to name it, we'll just name it, grading test 1 for the time being. The style we can turn on, and you can select any one of these styles. Standard is usually fine, so I'm just going to leave it on standard. The layer, I'm going to use the selected entity layer here so that it stays on this layer that this footprint is on currently and doesn't go to the 0 layer or the current layer. My current layer is the 0 layer, as you can see here in the top left. So it would also put it on the 0 layer if I selected this option. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to press OK. Okay, and now we have, if I go ahead and drag my properties pane over here, you'll see that now we have a feature line instead of like this guy's a polyline. We've now created a feature line. Okay, and now that we have our feature line, we're going to go ahead and we're going to edit our elevations on our feature line by selecting it and then selecting the elevation editor. That's going to open your panorama window with the elevations of each of these elevation points. So I want the elevation for each of these points to be 926, which it is because the polyline had an elevation of 926 beforehand. So this is perfectly fine with me. I'm going to go ahead and hit check, but I'm just going to click on this to verify. Okay, I'm going to close out my panorama there, and now we're going to select grading and grading creation tools. Okay, so this is the window that you're going to see when you select this. It's going to pop up like this, and what you're going to do is you're going to want to work from left to right. Most of these creation tools that pop up like this, you can work from left to right. So we'll start here. This is going to prompt me to select the grading group. You can select the site that you're on to create your grading group, and then you would select the group itself. And if you don't have a grading group created yet, you would hit this little button right here, which will create a new grading group. So before we do that, I'm going to turn on the layers that have all of our parcels so I can know which lot this is. So this is lot 31. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to click this button right here. I'm going to choose lot 31 for my site, and then my group name, I'm going to create a new group, which will also be lot 31 grading group. And I'm going to not check this automatic surface creation for the time being. We'll come back to that later, but I'm just going to go ahead and press OK. So now we're in site lot 31 and then lot 31 group as well. I can select this guy right here to set the target surface. I want the target surface to be PG, which is this surface that you can see here. If you were doing this on a brand new project, which you haven't done a corridor on yet, you would set your target surface to EG. It just depends on what you're trying to target, so you might have to stop and think kind of intuitively what you're trying to target. I'm trying to spread apart these contours that were generated by my corridor, so I made the surface from the contours generated by my corridor. I named it PG, okay, and then I just want the grading tool that I'm generating here using the grading creation tools to target this PG surface so that it does some change, does some changes relative to that surface. So I'll zoom in over here on the right before we get started just to show you an example of what this should look like. So this right here, if I select and drag my properties pane over here, is a grading. It's its own entity in CAD. Okay, and we'll show you how to get to this point that this lot is at in just a second. But as you can see here, I went ahead and I generated a surface. So here's a tin surface that I generated from the grading entity. And that surface, if you look closely here, ties into my PG surface, and it did exactly what I wanted it to do, which was spread out all these contours here. So if I select my surface here, you can see these contours are coming through the lot at probably 10%, whatever the slope of the road is there, because that assembly is just following the vertical profile I made for the road. So it's it has these lots at a cross slope that's not acceptable. So I wanted to take all these contours and drag them downwards to make a really steep slope in between both of these houses and then a flat pad. So if I look at the surface that was generated from my grading entity, as you can see here, this is the 920 contour. My surface went ahead and tied in there and then drug it along the bottom and then tied it back into my PG surface. So when I extract the contours from this surface, I can trim off where the contours were before, and then now I'm going to have a steep area in between both of these lots and not this cross slope that's unacceptable. So we're looking for pretty much the exact same outcome on this lot 31 over here as what we have over here to the right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to continue on with this process. So we have our feature line created for our building footprint. We've set the target surface as PG, and we've created our grading group. Okay, now what we can do is we can click this little button right here, which is to create the grading. Now when you click this button, it's going to use whatever your grading criteria that you have set. Okay, so you can select a criteria set. The only one that's available in Civil 3D by default is the standard set. I believe you can download other sets, but we're not going to worry about that for now. And then the standard set includes a ton of different criterias, but what we did is created our own. Okay, so I created a criteria that I named offset. Don't worry about the numbers here, they aren't entirely relevant. But I'm going to go ahead and edit that current selection and show you what the grading criteria editing menu looks like. Okay, so what you can do is you can specify the target for the grading method as distance, and then you can specify the slope projection being a grade or slope meaning 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, and so on, and then grade being a percentage of slope. Okay, and then once you specify all your things there, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to apply this grading criteria, and I'm going to do that by clicking this button right here, which is create grading. And then if you look in your command window, you're going to want to follow very closely to what the prompts in the command window are. So first thing it's going to do is it's going to prompt me to select the feature. So I'm going to select the feature line that I just made, which is this guy right here, which it says is not in this grading group site. So I have to make sure that this is in the right grading group. So I'm going to select this guy. I'm going to go to feature line properties, and I'm just going to make sure that it's in the correct grading group, so it's the correct name. The statistics look fine. Let's see, where can I edit which grading group it's in? Not exactly sure where I can edit that, so I'm just going to go ahead and run through the process again one more time. So I'm going to set the ortho, set my ortho to this. Redraw this polyline really quick, delete my feature line, we'll recreate it really fast, create feature line from objects, we'll select this guy, and we're going to make sure it's on site, lot 31, we'll name it lot 31, use selected entity layer, and then we'll go ahead and press OK. Okay, we want it to look like that guy. Okay, now we'll try. We should be on lot 31 group, which is the site, lot 31. And then we'll go ahead and pick this guy. Okay, cool. So I went ahead and I clicked this button again. We'll run through it one more time. I hit create grading, and then I selected my feature line. Now the command window is going to prompt me to select a grading side. So we want to grade on the outside of the lot. So you can either click on the inside of your feature line or the outside. And if your line isn't closed, then you'll pick, either side, either or. So we're going to go ahead and click on the outside to select the outside. It's going to ask me if I want to apply to the entire length. So in this case, I do want to apply to the entire length. So I'll go ahead and hit yes. And it's going to ask me to specify a distance. So the distance to this back where it's essentially flat is 20 feet. So if I go ahead and I hit 20 feet, I enter, and then I'm going to say what's going to be the percent grade within that 20 feet. So I'm just going to punch in 1% because that's essentially flat. Obviously, your yard's not going to be exactly flat. Okay. And then now I can select a different grading one, so another one that I made that is a tie-in. So if I go ahead and click this guy here, you'll see that the target, instead of being a distance, is surface. Okay, and then it's going to create cut and fill slopes at certain slopes. But the command itself will actually ask me if I want to change that slope. So I'm going to select this guy. I'm going to again hit create grading. And I don't want to tie into the target surface from the house, so I'm not going to select this feature line again. I'm going to select the feature line of the guy I just created, which would be the edge of that 20-foot flat area that I just created. So I'll select this feature line, and then do I want to apply to the entire length? It'll be yes. The cut slope is going to be 2 to 1, as you can see down here. I want a 2 to 1 cut slope, 2 to 1 fill slope, so I'll hit enter, and now it's going to create this grading for me here, which you can see here. Looks like it's being a little wonky over here, but that's okay. Okay, now once we have our grading, what we can do is we can select grading properties here. And you can do a ton of different things for your grading property. You can change the grading group. You can change the style for your cut and fill. So I went ahead and created a cut and fill style that just changes the colors so that cut will be shown in red and blue will show your fill area. So this guy is pretty much all fill over here. Okay, and then I can also grab the grading again, and then I can select grading group properties. So all of the gradings that I just created here, which will be this flat area as well as this cut and fill area, are all in one grading group. So if I select grading group properties, it'll change the properties for the entirety of the grading group. And I want to create a surface from this grading group. So I'm going to check this automatic surface creation box, and it's going to open up my create surface tools here. I'm going to leave it on the 0 layer for now, and I'm going to change my style to CVLX PG so it looks the way that I want to. It shows my major and minor contours. And then I'll leave the name as lot 31. I can go ahead and press OK, and then we'll hit apply, OK. And as you can see here, we now have a surface that was spit out. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the surface and move it to the front. So we had this surface that was spit out, and it did exactly what we wanted to do. It dragged these contours that are pulling through. As you can see here, it connects them, and instead of them running through the house like that and creating that cross slope that we don't want, it drug them along the bottom and then tied them back in closer to the road, which is exactly what we want. It is doing some funky things there, so you might have to edit. It didn't turn out quite as clean as this one. But it's essentially done exactly what we want. And then it's created this kind of cut slope here, which we probably actually won't we won't change anything there, but it's created this cut slope in order to keep this area surrounding the house, that 20-foot area, completely flat, which is perfectly fine. If I click this guy and I want to change it, I can delete it and redo it, and then it'll regenerate that surface because that surface is automatically updating. And I can repeat this process for each lot and then extract the contours out of the surface and then use those contours instead of tediously breaking all the contours and dragging them below and retying them in. Along this left side of the road, it might be pretty quick to just break them and tie them back in because it's pretty easy to see what's going on. But on these corner lots and stuff, when I was doing them by hand earlier, it took a much longer amount of time. So this would have been a much easier way to do this. So if you're working on any project where you have just one singular home on one singular site, you can use these grading creation tools to essentially grade out the entire lot very, very, very quickly. And I believe if you create one grading group for the entire site, you can essentially create a bunch of gradings all at once and then extract one big surface together. So once you kind of get your hands on this and learn how to employ it, you can make quick work of making grading changes on residential properties or commercial properties using these grading creation tools.